Hello and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. My name is Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Yes, I love it when I see peeps already jumping on live. Listen, if you are watching us right now, if you could share this video wherever you are so we can get more eyes and more ears on this awesome content we're about to drop, we would so appreciate it. This is the Her Version podcast. This platform is built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Connie Jones. Connie coaches heart-led, high-achieving, mission-driven business owners to soar in aligned success and build a business and life with the freedom, impact, and abundance they desire. Yes, as a gifted, intuitive, wise discerner and dynamic motivator, Connie understands the barriers that prevent her clients from living and leading in true freedom and next-level success. Blending her superpowers as a therapist and coach, she partners with her clients to eliminate their blind spots, clear their unconscious blocks, and blow through barriers that hinder them so they can get out of their own way and open all the possibilities to create their vision and implement their dream to action plan. Hello, Miss Connie. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fan-freaking-tastic. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
We're both pretty in pink.
I know. And it kind of Valentine's-y, I guess. Yes. I didn't even think about that until just a few minutes ago. And I'm like, we got the memo.
I love it. Super fun. I love the color pink and all
the feminine energy today. Powerful feminine energy, right?
Yes. Emphasis on the powerful.
That's right.
I am so excited to hang out with you and chat with you and learn all of the things. So thank you so much for being here. I know that you are doing a ton of stuff in your community now, in your world now, with all the goodness with your business. But before we jump into all of that goodness, this podcast is all about stories, struggles to triumph, darkness to light. We all have something, whether it's a big something or a little something. Everybody that I have ever talked to, especially entrepreneurs, have some sort of pivot, something in their life that happened that pivoted them from one journey to another journey. And I would love to hear your pivots. What's the story that changed your life? What did you learn from it?
Oh gosh. It was about 10 years ago, and it was a breakdown to breakthrough story. And not everybody has to have a breakdown to have a breakthrough. That's for sure. But I did. And I was in true burnout and breakdown. I came from a high achieving family and, just thought that achieving the perfect picture was, that not only in achievements in my success, but also in, getting the perfect man and having the perfect marriage and the whole bit. And I just look at the perfect picture from what I idealized and had learned was going to make it all feel good and be happy and successful. And I had a broken engagement at 28 with Mr. All-American, Mr. Right. And I actually broke it off. I didn't know who I was. And and in that moment, I realized that, oh my gosh, like this isn't going to happen for me at this time. It was not going to, the story that I had written for myself is not going to look like I thought it is, or I thought it was, or thought it should. And so I had been in therapy for a long time and had felt really called to make a difference in the world, and knew at this point that I was going to have to I thought I went into that masculine energy of, I'm going to have to make it work for myself. I'm going to have to figure this out. I'm going to have to man up and do the thing and be single and take care of myself. And so I thought that my calling was to be a therapist, and it is to a certain degree, but that wasn't it. And so for the next 15 years, I got into private practice and counseling, and after going back to school and getting my degree and all that, and doing my hours, and had this thriving, long story short, had this thriving private practice for 10 to 15 years, and highest paid in town. I mean, not that money's everything, it wasn't, but I was just a picture of success. From the outside, it looked like I had it all, and except for a husband, and but I was the single woman who had made it on her own, and was helping everybody else get their life together, and I was healthy in a lot of ways because I had done a lot of work on myself, but I felt trapped, and I helped everybody else with the overwork, the drain, the burnout, the soul draining things, but my soul was being drained, and I didn't know how to do anything different. And I wasn't happy. I wanted to do it differently. My dad was a college football coach. I had been a sports performance coach early on. Coaching's in my blood. But at that time, I only knew how to take the gifts that I had been given, which are intuitive gifts and discerning gifts, and why, the wisdom inside of me to do that deeper work with people. But I only knew how to do it in the counseling model that I was used to, and didn't know how to combine, how to show up in the world in my brilliance, in the way that I really wanted to impact people. And so I felt trapped. I felt trapped in this incredibly successful business. And I felt like, and I was one-on-one, dollars for hours, working, seeing 26 to 36 clients a week, making great money, and helping everybody else, but I was miserable. And so even in my own private practice, and I had no freedom. I was felt completely trapped. And so I just had this feeling inside that, gosh, there's so much more. I want to be teaching and speaking. I want to be taking people to the next level. And I felt like I was being drained every day. And so literally 15 years of that I went into adrenal fatigue, perimenopause, and then menopause at 39 years old. I had all these health problems, and I was a picture of fitness before that. I was, just exhausted, and I was miserable. My relationships were not where I wanted them to be. I was having no fun. I had no freedom. I was living paycheck to paycheck, and it was just not at all the way that business was supposed to be. And so I literally had a spiritual, mental, physical breakdown, and just couldn't do it anymore. And what I learned from that, is that, first of all, I had to be willing to surrender. I had to be willing to surrender to what I knew and what had felt secure for me, but what actually had been survival patterns that I had learned, coping mechanisms that I had learned to help me survive and succeed up to a certain point, but were keeping me at a limit, and keeping a ceiling over me, and causing internal turmoil and tearing me down. And so I was willing to surrender because I was at the end of myself and what I could do. I was at the end of, I was at my limited capacity. I had no more to give, and knew I had to do something different, but had no idea what to begin to do different. And it was a dark moment for me, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do now? And didn't know, again, how I wanted to show up in the world, and how to really harness the gifts and the power inside of me and the magic inside of me to do what I wanted to do in the world. And, and this is what I'm so passionate about, helping business owners now, because I've learned so much. We do business backwards. We do what the model and the strategies and the formulas tell us we should do instead of really understanding our true essence and coming from embodying our essence and understanding our magic and our power and our gifts and getting clear about what that looks like when we are shining in our brilliance in the world in the way that we were uniquely created to, and putting that out there in a way that works for us, that is freedom giving, that's life giving, that's passion fueled and purpose centered rather than driven for success and masculine in nature. And nothing wrong with masculine energy. I love masculine energy and have a lot of it still, but like it wasn't serving me to do it all from that place. And I didn't understand my essence. And so, or really know I knew how to access my inner wisdom and my power in my sessions with other people, but I didn't know how to access my inner wisdom and my power in my own business and in my own life. And I didn't know how to harness that for myself. And so that's what I started to learn. And I now coach other change makers to do the same and create their strategic plan build their strategic plan based on their vision that lights them on fire for what they want to be and do in the world. And then create that from start to finish in alignment with who they are and the impact and the freedom and the joy that they want to have in their business. And so, there's so much I learned from that. I learned my superpowers throughout the process. I understand that, blending the intuitive and the 15 years of therapy plus the coaching background that I have, that I could do it all. And that I could be me in the way that I wanted to show up and make the greatest difference. And then shifting a lot of those survival mindsets and patterns of behavior that were not serving me or anybody that we are programmed with, and they work really well for a certain period of time until we hit our limit, and then we've got to learn something different and learn how to reprogram.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah.
So as far as it's so crazy that we're talking about this because I was literally the phone call right before you was with a woman. We were talking about feminine versus masculine energy and her thought process on the whole thing. What is we were both kind of speaking on coaches, female coaches predominantly, that are putting a lot of emphasis on you can do it all with feminine energy.
Yeah.
So I was kind of wondering what your take was on that.
Yeah, and I think it's a good blend. We don't need to go all one direction and then all another. I think we need to come back to our essence, which is connect with our heart and our passion and our purpose, and really understand those things and understand our values and how we're wired. And as we're doing that, understand who we were really made to be, the feminine and the masculine, and have a good mix of that, a good feel for that. But so many women have been programmed to, and not all, but some as overachievers and performers, high achievers, have been performed to strive and struggle and survive and make things hard and try to figure things out. And instead of coming from that open place, that receptive place, that softened place inside of us, that's passionate and that is creative and is joyful. We don't have to the overs are all of the overs are trauma responses. I believe the overthinking, the overanalyzing, the overperforming, the overworking, overwhelm, anything overextension, all of that is trauma. It's our programming that taught us how to survive, but we don't have to show up in the world the way that the world teaches us to stay in the hustle and stay in the grind and do the struggle, striving, and the surviving. It doesn't have to continue to stay that way. We can figure out what works best for us as we come back to ourselves or find ourselves sometimes for the first time ever and learn how we like to do it and what feels best to us, and what's in alignment with our spirit and our heart and our soul and our body. And so I think it's a good mix of both. I don't think we don't just sit and do nothing, but we do the things from a passion fueled, purpose centered place that's creative and joyful and with ease and in flow. And when we find that place inside of us where we are most powerful, where we are wise, where our gifts just pour out of us, then that's the place where we're magical. And that's the place I want to live most of my life in, and run my business from. And thank God I do today,
I love it.
Yeah.
Where does masculinity sit for a female entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think that's different for everybody. I think, I love the masculinity piece in me because it has allowed me to survive. It's made me the warrior that I am. It's made me work well with men because I understand men. It's allowed me to, even though I do work well with women too. It's allowed me to be athletic and physical and strong and all the things. And so it's allowed me to lead in a way that that I have some strengths in, but I just don't want I don't want to play. I want to be me, I don't want to have to try to be, I don't see it as me being anything in a man's world or a woman's world or trying to make up for anything. I see me as just, I'm so embodied in my essence at this point that I don't have to make up or try to overcome something. I just show up as me. And so, yeah, so it's a soft and a strong version, depending on the day.
Very, very cool. When you think about, struggles, challenges, whether it's in your personal life or in your business life, what are, as you've been going through this journey of learning new things, right? Personal development, personal power, confidence, entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
When you come up to a struggle or a challenge, what would you say are the steps that you take personally to go from confronting that challenge and struggle all the way throughout the other side without getting totally beat up, banged up, and get right back up again and keep going? What do you do? What's your ritual?
That's a great question. And I could go on for days about that. I would say the first thing that I do is, first of all, I try to remember. I mean, I get triggered sometimes too, but I've done so much work on myself. I'm super, super aware. And I do believe that I do show up in pretty much wholeness and freedom in my life. I feel internal freedom much of every day. And so I'm so grateful for that. So the challenges that do come up when I do get triggered, I remind myself that this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. And that this is an opportunity, not an obstacle. This is an opportunity to grow me in some way. There is something here that is needing to, there's something I need to surrender to and learn from and grow into. Or there's something here that is still a survival pattern or a mindset in some way that is not serving me, and this is an opportunity to break free from that or to reprogram that in some way, to soften into being a receiver of all good, of all the things that are available to me as I step back in and embody my essence and my power. I believe I have a huge faith. I happen to, mine is from the Christian perspective. Now I had a lot of religious abuse, so it is not religious. I had growing up, but I still do consider myself a Christian and come from that perspective, but I'm very, very open-minded and very accepting and, of all, but my spirituality is like, my connection is like, it's my lifeblood. And so that I don't know what I would do without that. That allows me not to get, my foundation doesn't get rocked. Because I always come back to, this is happening for me, not to me, that I am loved, that I am chosen, that I am worthy inherently, and that there is everything available to me that I need. Now, there's something, I'm just getting in my own way somehow, either through a survival pattern or either through something that is some resistance inside of me that I need to surrender to. And so one of those two things, now that's easier said than done. Getting to that point is very clear. Now it's like letting it go is the messy middle. And learning to do something different is the messy middle. But once we realize that, then it really is about, if I'm going to believe that I am a powerful divine being and that I am loved and that things are happening for me, then what's here for me to know, and how can I move into love and out of fear, or move into love and faith and out of this survival, that what feels like a threat to me of some sort, or whatever it is, and that is not lined up with who God says I am, with what he says is available to me in my life. And if I'm really going to have faith and trust and live my life centered in that, then I'm going to have to choose, which I'm going to go with in that moment. Am I going to go back into survival and feeling like everything's a threat, or am I going to go into faith and love? And usually when I embrace love, the resistance, or open to love, the resistance decreases greatly and the answer comes. It might feel uncomfortable for a little while, but it always comes. It always shifts. And then I can move back into joy and peace and see the wisdom that's there for me to see. And then the growth happens and the blossoming happens. But the thing is, it's, those trauma responses are so, they're our go-to, and we don't see so many times that that's what we're in. And it creates such stress and such fear and such urgency, and such panic. And I am becoming more and more and more aware of the energy that just drives me and carries me and, causes me to react to things instead of staying in my body and breathing and staying in my essence and trusting that, like, I'm going to be okay. And that this is all going to work out for me in the end.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Great.
I will say this too. I also, what's been so helpful for me is to practice, to have some spiritual practices, like practicing, embodying power, embodying my energy, doing a lot of energy work, doing a lot of meditating on truth, a lot of declaring truth, a lot of, sinking into and opening to love, learning to love myself, learning to heal my inner child, all of that, love myself truly deeply at a very deep level, and offer myself grace and ease. Because when we're doing that as a practice, not waiting to try to use those tools when we're in the middle of a trigger, it's a lot easier to, when we've already got, it's like we've got deposits built up. And so I have those deposits that are built, so I get less triggered less often, first of all. And then when I do get triggered, it's easier to come back to those things because they're fresh in my mind and in my heart.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Totally makes sense. Well, as this journey has kind of unraveled for you, what are some limiting beliefs that you have had to either get rid of or that you're working on?
Oh, big ones. And everything's not perfect. There are still these come up. The core beliefs they will come up from here and there, and I'm like, whoa, there it is again. Some of them, let's see, some of the biggest ones for me are, I think two biggest ones is that what I want, there's that Southern accent. what I want and need is not going to happen for me. I can't have what I want and what I need. I was, grew up in a performance-based family. And so I had to just be who everybody else needed me to be. And what I wanted and needed inside, deep inside in my innermost being, never got met. And nobody knew that. I didn't even know that. But what happened is I subconsciously came to internalize that was just my reality, that I was just going to have to become a machine and put all my desires and my needs aside. And so I just kind of had to shut things off. And so I still, that will still come up every now and then, denying myself things, in moments that I don't even realize. Now, I don't deny myself outwardly things, but like if I'm, I'll catch myself every now and then, that my inner persecutor will rear her ugly head sometimes and be telling me things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is so old. That is so old news. That that's not my reality anymore. But it won't happen for me is another one. All these powerless statements. I'm flawed, something's wrong with me. And so I'm not gonna get it right. And then if I don't get it right, then I'm not gonna have what I need. And it all comes down to that performance. Those are the deepest, biggest ones for me.
Yeah.
It's taken many years to reprogram those, not only in my mind, but in my body. They're programmed in our bodies. And so I, loving myself and giving to myself and allowing, receiving and enjoying and ease are all the things those were so foreign to me.
Yeah. As far as the females watching live, by the way, thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. If you're watching us on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so that we know where you are watching us at, and we can give you some love. But for those that are watching right now who are dealing with some beliefs, some unworthiness, what would be some advice? What are what did you do to start to overcome that, or to start to kind of wash that away?
Yeah, several things actually. First of all, it is not true, but it does feel very true. And so for someone just to tell us that, we'll just start believing something different that doesn't cut it. And especially if you're a feeler or an intuitive, like I have been all my life, people would tell me, you just have to change your mind about that. That's just not true. And like, it's bigger than that when you're a feeler and an intuitive, and things feel very real, and you see it happening because we're powerful creators too. So we're creating what we believe in our reality at all times. And so so I had all this evidence to back that up. It is true because this is what I see, and this is what I've experienced, and this is what feels true. But then when I realized that I was stuck in a pattern with, I have a friend that called it an existential kink. It's like I am creating the very thing that I hate and the very thing that I don't want for myself, because my inner persecutor is rehearsing that over and over and over. And it's and just filling myself with lies. And if I do continue to believe that, and don't see the fallacy of that, then I'm going to stay in the same pattern. And so the first thing is recognizing that it is a lie, recognizing that it, but not hating it, because it worked really well for it. It allowed me to survive in the best way that I knew how. And so I don't want to necessarily, get rid of that part of me and just, because that feels unsafe. What I had to do was learn how to kind of just listen to that part and thank her for what she was, she had helped me do for years, but allow this other part of me to arise inside, and to let her to start having a voice, and letting her, learning to access my inner wisdom, and that wise guide inside of me, that loving voice. that, and the voice of God inside me that allowed me to begin to feel something different just in moments. And as I said, then I would have these practices that I would do that would reinforce those. I would declare things. I would speak things out loud, because our words are vibratory forces and they do change our reality. We affect matter. And so I had to change the pattern that kept me stuck in the same old cycle. And that began with my thoughts and my words. And then I had to take action against those things that began to, because, if we keep fueling it, it's going to continue to run us. But I had to starve it. I had to starve the inner persecutor, and, but thank her for what she had done, and tell her that, she can sit down and not run my life at this point. And empower the inner princess, or the inner goddess, or the inner, whatever you want to call her, who is divine, and who, the truth is, like all of us, inhabit a space in this world that no one else can inhabit like I do. And so there's so much value in that. And when I realized that, I'm like, whoa, like, I want to let that me run my life. And so I started to get to know her, and I spent time with her, like any relationship, and got to know really how, I asked God a lot of hard questions, and really got to know who he had created me to be, and what he had made so special about me. And I wrestled with him on that, because I was really angry at him for a long time and did not like who he had made me to be. And I felt persecuted, because didn't realize I was persecuting myself. And so it's that self-compassion and that love and spiritual connection that changes it, when you realize how we were created and what the truth is. It begins to shift over time.
Yeah. You mentioned two things that I want to kind of dive a little deeper into. So there's a lot of women right now that are listening that are just right now, like maybe even just today, stepping into listening to this.
Yeah.
And they never heard of any of this. So when you say declare, what does that even mean?
It means speak what is not as though it is, with power. It means having a voice. It means saying things with courage and intention. The things that I am going to choose to believe. It means writing new scripts for myself about what my life is going to look like moving forward, because of who God says I am and who he made me to be, and how I want to show up in the world. And it's saying those new things, those new truths over and over and over, until they begin to change we have neuroplasticity in our brains, until it begins to change the neuronal patterns in our brain and the pathways, until we can truly begin to believe something different, and then we feel something different. And so I spend a lot of time doing declarations, and it's a skill, it's a discipline. I love helping people learn how to do that. It's first of all, that you got to recognize what your script has been and what's running you. We all have we have a subconscious mind, unconscious mind that runs us. We're based upon our experiences, based upon the things that we've been taught, based upon the things that we feel to be true. And so all of that is running us until we learn how to impress our subconscious with new truths. And we're that powerful. We can change our reality by speaking different things into our minds, and into our and affecting matter with those outside of us too.
And then when you say starve,
meaning, that's a great question. Yeah, I should have, that probably wasn't the best word to use. Starve that part of me, meaning stop giving them so much attention. Stop letting them run, not necessarily, just don't give that more fuel. Don't keep putting fuel to that, because for so long, we're all trying to do things to feel a sense of safety and security the best way we know how. And so that was a part of me that was a survival mechanism that convinced me of lies about me and about my reality that made me feel safe and secure, because I knew what was going to happen, even though I didn't like it, and so it did create some sense of security for me. Yet I hated the reality that it was producing. And so what I had to understand is that if I wanted to create a different reality and feel a different way and step into the truth of who, in the essence of who I really am, then, or who I wanted to be, then I had to stop giving so much energy and allowing that voice to have so much power and authority in my mind. And so every single time I would hear it, it would be the same old thing. And I'd have to, sometimes I would write it down and realize, oh my gosh, that's it again. That's the mechanism again. Or yeah. And I had to start talking back to it. I had to start saying, no, you're not going to steal. You're not going to steal anymore from me. You're not going to rob me of my identity and my destiny anymore by telling me that bullshit. That's pretty much what it is. And so I had to call BS on it and stop giving it so much power.
When you say call BS on it, is this you writing it down? Is this just like you internally just saying like,
Both.
Shut up? Or is this you saying out loud? Are you talking in a mirror? How do you do it?
But all whatever it takes in those moments. Yeah. Most of the time I just try to either write it or I will just try to go against it in my head. But sometimes it requires, sometimes it gets so loud and so repetitive and what's the word I'm looking for? Just overtly obnoxious that I will have to say, no, stop. That is not true. I'm not going to believe that anymore. That's not going to run my life anymore. That is not, and my biggest thing is that's not my portion in my inheritance. And that's, I don't believe that that's not all there is for me.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Well, I love this. I think that it's all fantastic. Great nuggets of information for those that are just stepping in or those that are, a few months into their journey. This is the stuff that, that really breaks the cycle that so many women are in right now of just not knowing and having no idea where to even look for anything other than what they already know. So I so appreciate a lot of the stuff that you said today. For those that are hanging out with us live or watching us on the replay and they've made it to this point, can you tell us who you help, what your business is? Tell us all the things.
Yeah. So this is exactly who I love, helping the high achievers who are heart-centered, who are tired of feeling persecuted in their own life because of usually their own internal strongholds, mental, struggle. But not only that, but feeling like they have to keep doing things in a way that are not in alignment with what brings them joy and what allows them the freedom that they want. And that is internal freedom, time freedom, money freedom. I see so many business owners, and it pains me, and this was my struggle too. I see so many business owners doing business backwards. They're doing all the strategies and all the formulas, and they're doing this cookie cutter program and this next 90-day accelerator, and they're getting they've got all this information and they're trying to do all these things, but they're doing them from a being that is not aligned with their essence and that is not empowered and that is not free. And so the decisions that they're making in their business about how to structure things, about how to, the strategy that they have in their business is like tapping them out and causing them overwork and overwhelm and frustration. And they're not really building the business that they want. And so I love helping. I have two different programs, and I also work one-on-one with people, because that work is so crucial too. That I work with therapists, holistic practitioners, and coaches who want to hit that six-figure revenue and above, and they want to do it with the freedom, the impact, and the enjoyment that they dream of. That not the business that they think they have to have, but the business that they really want to be spending their time and energy doing the things that matter to them, while making the impact in the world. The other one is I actually have a program for Christian business owners who are just service-based, heart-centered, mission-driven business owners who want freedom, and that they want to move into that CEO visionary role, and they want to not be in their business. They want to be working on their business. And so those two populations are the ones that I love working with. And but it's heart-centered, high achieving entrepreneurs who are successful, but something inside, patterns, programming, it may be their plan, their process, something's not working. And so I have a holistic way of approaching business, that we first reconnect to your heart, you connect with your essence, you feel empowered, you access that inner wisdom, you overcome, you reprogram those mindsets and those survival patterns. And once you're that whole, it's a simultaneous process. As you become whole and empowered and free internally, we also create the strategic plan for the business that you want to create, that's in alignment with who you are and the impact that you want to make in the world. And we take aligned action steps to do all of the processes and all the systems and all the operations, and we create the business from start to finish that will close that gap between the reality that you're in right now that you don't want, to the dream business that you do want. And that's what I do.
Very cool. Are those video programs, one-on-one, group? What kind of programs are those?
Group and one-on-one. Mm-hmm. Yep, I do. I have a group and a one-on-one component in both programs, and then I do just some plain one-on-one, with a limited number of people who just want that. Yeah, and then I'll do some I do some retreats and some intensive experiences also. But all very transformational in nature, and not cookie cutter. It's really based on helping people get true freedom.
I was just going to ask something. Don't remember. Why do you do what you do?
Oh, because it's changed my life, and I just can't not. Like, I wake up every day with my life and my business are so joyful and so easeful and so happy. I mean, like it, and actually I wrote a book about, if somebody wants to read the book, it's called Warrior Arise, Live Bravely, Freely, Authentically You. It is my story of how I did all of this, all the work that I've done internally, all the work that I've, all the changing that I've done with my structure of my life and my business, all the things that I've learned. So definitely, if you want to know more, there's a lot more in my book. It's actually got a workbook in it where you can actually go through some of this healing and some of this freedom work yourself. But that's why, because I can't not share the transformation and the freedom that I have experienced as a result of doing this, and then doing it with hundreds of other business owners. I wake up every day with it pouring out of me. I want everybody, because we don't have to stay in the struggle.
Yeah. Do you, where do you hang out mostly on social media? Where can people find you?
Yeah, I have Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Instagram is Connie Jones Coach. Facebook is Connie Jones, just my personal feed, or my personal page. And LinkedIn is Connie Jones also. And so I would say Facebook is like I'm a little more on Facebook, but all three, you know, I'm very active on.
Awesome. Well, I so appreciate you being here
Thank
and hanging
you.
out with us. This was so great. I so appreciate you sharing so much awesomeness with myself and everyone watching live and on the replay. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up?
Yeah, I just, you know, I want everybody to know that you are a powerful divine being, and that when you are in your essence, you are in that powerful essence, that you're unstoppable. That is where all of your potential is unlocked. That is where all abundance is unleashed. And that's where all joy and love and peace come. And that is the freedom that we need to be living in every day. And of course, it's not perfect. And, you know, it's an ebb and flow, you know, there's some, but it just gets better and better and better, the work that you do as you do more of the work. And I am just happy to help, happy to support you. If, you know, if this is something that you want to learn more about. And I just want to see everybody be the freest version of themselves so that they can show up in their brilliance in the world, because no one can impact the world like you uniquely can, in your unique way. And if you don't show up, and I don't mean that as pressure, but if you don't show up fully and freely and you don't enjoy it, you got one, what does Mary Oliver say? One wild and precious life. And we get one chance. And we're getting robbed of our destiny, and the world is getting robbed of what we have in us that is magical. And that, I can't stand that. So I want everybody to find that.
Beautiful. Well, I so appreciate you being here, Connie, and bringing all of your goodness today. For those of you watching live, if you resonated with Connie and all of her goodness, her website is right above her head, ConnieJonesCoach.com. It's also in a clickable link wherever you are watching us at in the description. We love to connect people here on this platform to make sure that we all continue to rise. So make sure you find her on all the social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta. Thank you so much for joining us here on this episode of Her Version. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. We have had over 400 women cross the stage of the Her Version stage. If you love content like this is an ongoing thing. Make sure you follow, like, and share. If you have a story to share, check us out at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I'm so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others. Until next time.